All right. Now trying to do live again here. Let's see. Is anybody up there? Anybody out there? Oh, there we are. All right. All right. Now trying to do live again here. Let's see. Is anybody up there? Anybody out there?
I can't find our feed on YouTube.
You what?
I can't find if we're live.
I think we're live on YouTube.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I saw it come up a minute ago.
Okay.
So hopefully that's true.
Well, you might want to put on Facebook that we're over on YouTube. If it's not Facebook Live immediate, because I think that's.
Well, we sent everybody the link for YouTube Live, so that's.
Oh, we've already done that.
That's the only link everybody should have. All right, so if you can hear us, put a comment in the comment section here so that we know this is working, because again, this is all new to us. So, especially not being in the same room. So.
And could you send me the link just so is that? Let me see, because this one isn't working for me, which it seems like it should be working for me. All right.
Well, somebody keeps giving us a thumbs up, but
well, thank you,
I don't
whoever.
A comment on that, but we at least have that. All right. Oh, well, somebody told me we're on YouTube, so all right, we're going to go with it then. Chris Lemus just texted and said we were, so.
Okay. Here, it finally just came up. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Chris. We provided no content and have already got 5 thumbs up, so what an easy gig.
Perfect. All right. Why don't you go ahead, Steve?
Well, like a lot of people, I've been in front of my computer a lot. So that's why I just took my computer out here so I could simultaneously be outside and then glued to the screen. And I've been out here every bit of 2.5 minutes, and my computer is completely covered in pollen. How about you? That's how I'm doing.
Well, someone just told me that the comments are disabled on YouTube for some reason right now on that channel. So why don't you talk, and then I'm going to go see if I can fix that.
All right. Okay. Well, so everybody, we thought we would check in. We're doing a couple things at the same time. One of those things, obviously, is just to give people a chance to feel like we're all connected. I've got feedback on my phone. My phone's not on. I just got a note, but I'll turn it further down.
Comments are disabled on you.
Yeah. So, okay. So thank you. There's a couple of people sending notes. And apparently there's a lot of feedback on me. So like I said, we're doing a couple of things. I'll get to the second thing. We're trying to figure out some technology that gets more people connected and obviously is as interactive as possible when we're not physically present with each other. So we're several of us on staff are dabbling in some new technologies. I think Jonathan's probably been waving the flag the hardest in the past 24 hours. Some technology I don't think we've heard of prior that integrates different platforms, puts them all together, and makes it really simple to interact and observe and switch between different guests, et cetera. So I think we've about got it cracked, but as you can see, there are still some kinks to work out. The other thing that we're doing that I was saying before is just trying to give people a chance to feel less isolated, since a lot of us are working at home, which for me is intermittently working and then looking in the pantry, about equal time on those two things. looking in the fridge would be a close second or third. So my voice is still doubled. Still getting feedback. Let's try this. I'm not sure if that's going to help. I think. Let's see. Trying to think of what that would be. Maybe on my end, but I don't know what it would be. To those of you, I've actually gotten some notes. Did the feedback go away? Those of you listening and were telling me a second ago. Dale, you were one of them. So hopefully here very soon we'll be able to check in on people and see what you're experiencing. I lead a men's group on Wednesday mornings. Wake Up Man. We've been doing it for quite some time. I'm getting a note that maybe it's your speakers doing it, Jonathan, that it's creating the feedback. Echo is not gone. Yeah, not sure what to do about that. That's obviously all anybody's thinking about, if that's what they're hearing.
All right. Well, I thought we were going to be... this is new technology that we're trying now as opposed to Sunday, so... looks like we are struggling there.
Okay, so you want to... Okay, wait a minute. They're saying it's gone now. Did you do something different?
I turned it down lower on my volume, but yeah, I was still trying to figure out how to open up comments on the video, but...
So comments are not open?
Yeah, not right now, so...
Okay. Well, that's another kink we'll have to work out. What I was saying is I lead a group, have done so for 5 or 6 years, called Wake Up Man, Wednesday mornings from 7 to 8. And we met virtually this morning on Zoom. And it was interesting just to talk with several guys all over the Triangle and as far as Chicago. And I think we all felt very similar, and then some uniquely felt different stresses. One guy said he's just walking around disoriented all the time. Just everything is so weird. Somebody else talked about I'm constantly feeling dread. Somebody else talked about being very avoidant, not really dealing with very much. So yeah, we're all definitely feeling.
Keep talking.
Some of us are feeling frustration because the doubling is back. the echo is back. So yeah, that. All right, so I'm getting mixed reviews. Some people are sending me some texts that the echo is back. Well, we'll figure it out, guys. We're gonna do it. Well, I wish I could interact with you. I wish we could find out how you guys are doing. Stories that you can tell. Yeah, lots of people are remarking that they think it's me speaking and then it going into your microphone, Jonathan, and then we're creating that infinity loop. So, and it's coming and going. So Jonathan is going to try some.
All right.
Some in-ear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's see if that helps. Be great if it did.
That would be awesome.
Try not to spend more than 15 minutes on live production tweaking. I think that's probably a maximum.
Yeah, that's probably wise. So,
Anyway, we're all feeling different things, or trying not to feel certain things. And so that's enough out of me.
Yeah, I mean, all that sounded great, even though I didn't hear any of it. I'm sure it was all really.
You didn't hear any of it, but some people heard it twice.
You saw a lot of, solved a lot of the world's problems there. So, all right. I would say my family, we are just figuring out what life looks like, and all hunkered down together like many of you guys, whether individually or with friends or family, and trying to navigate it. And so I'm trying to let myself feel all the feels, and because there's a sense of disappointment that I think we all feel with a lot of things that either got canceled or things that we anticipate being canceled. So that's been something I've tried to pay attention to and trying to let myself feel it, trying to let my kids feel it too. I think there's a temptation to put like a really positive spin on stuff, to just kind of spin it and try to say, oh yeah, let's all just look on the bright side of stuff. And it's okay to just say some things suck. And there's a lot that's going on now that sucks. And just to be okay to admit that and to feel it and to sit in it. But also to not neglect trying to find ways to look at things that are good and to find things and to pay attention to things that are good that are going on in the world, and not let ourselves spiral down into cynicism and everything sucks. So, and that's a balance, but that we have to allow ourselves, I think, space and time to do both. So I'm trying to give that to myself. I'm trying to give that to, the people here that I'm surrounded in our house with, but just there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and trying to embrace that just because things are uncertain doesn't mean that things have to be scary. It just means that they're uncertain and they're unknowns, and how we're going to tackle things and how we're going to move forward on things are just uncertain and unknown. And I can get into a way of thinking where I can just start to worry about those things. But I just have to remind myself that, it's just unknown right now. And there's just a whole lot of unknowns. So some people do better with unknown than others, but I think we all struggle with it to a degree. Mm-hmm. And just to embrace that, there's just a lot of unknowns right now. So I think that's how we're doing.
I recently heard Ezra Klein say something that I've been realizing is super applicable, but he said that our identities are really important to us, and threat activates identity. And what he means is, or what he said that he means is, when we feel like we're under pressure, threat, and we feel fearful, that we immediately try to find the most solid ground for an identity as possible. This is who I am. This is who we are. And we circle up the wagons. We put on our jersey, and we figure out who the teams are. And we're all under a lot of stress, especially in these last few years. But now these last few weeks, there's been a lot of activated identity. Like, is my identity that I'm on team the sky is falling and it's all over and you better get serious? I'm on team dismiss all that. This is media hype. Am I on team leave me alone? We're going to be at my house and I'm going to cut myself off. There's a lot of that happening. We're trying to figure out, like, what's the right response in this moment. And so I'm noticing in myself and in others to stay in that middle space and say, we don't have to panic, and we don't have to, apathy is also not helpful. Somewhere in the middle is this ongoing adaptive, what's actually happening? What do I need to do right now? Where do I put my foot right now? Don't run and hide. Don't swell up and figure out, am I on the right team? Am I thinking about this and behaving the right way? What am I responsible for? Who am I responsible for right now? But that doesn't resolve, and that's really hard to do. That's an unresolved identity. And you're leaving yourself open, and that takes a lot of work, and we're already doing a lot of work right now. So I'm noticing that right now. It's tiring on that level as well, to stay in that middle space.
Yeah, I agree. And I think and part of that, there's just, I think, this whole anticipation of, it's one thing when we feel like if we're going up the hill, or if we feel like we've kind of reached the peak, or if we're getting ready to head on the other side of the hill. But right now, we don't know where we're at. So we don't know if we're sitting there and we're like, here's another week or two we need to kind of go through this lockdown, or if this is another couple months that we have to go through lockdown, all the way to 5 months. You hear people talk about that. So yeah, like not having your footing underneath you, of not knowing where we're at. It seems that everything gets turned upside down inside you, and you feel very unbalanced, and you feel very, I don't know where to put my footing, because I don't know what news I'm going to wake up to tomorrow. I don't know what new lockdown things are going to happen.
It's not even like we don't know what's going to happen with the news we have. The news is still coming. We still, it's still jobs and events and schooling and all kinds of plans. It's still, I mean, even today I saw several things that are getting dumped. They're months down the road they got dumped, and it's going to cost people all kinds of resources. And so, yeah, we're not even into the part of we can't. The story is not even halfway unfolded yet, and so that's really stressful. I'm choking on pollen. Sorry. I'll survive. Let's just keep moving.
You were toughing it out like a champ there.
Yeah, I'm the real victim here.
Oh, gosh. So, I think one of the things, I did get told that the chat is back on, so hopefully then the comments are live. It looks like
good.
Dr. Claybrook was able to fix that. So if anyone wants to comment, hopefully that's helpful now, or ask questions, feel free to do that. I think as a church, those are some of the requests, and I'll talk more about this on Sunday, but just getting a whole lot of requests in for people, understandably, that are worried about utility payments, and worried about rent payments, and worried about whether they have money to pay for certain medical bills, and all of that. And then, job layoffs and all those kinds of things. And so I'm also, just really aware that we're playing a unique role as a church, and just church in general, but specifically our church, trying to figure out how do we step into those gaps, because those needs are very real and practical, and it's scary when people don't know, where's a paycheck coming from, or how am I going to pay this bill or that bill. And I'm hopeful that we can try to figure out a way together as a community to step into those gaps, because those needs are only going to compound, I can only imagine, here in the next couple months. So and that's more insecurity it's going to affect us deeply if we let it. How are you, Steve, just in terms of just even your own kids, and how you're parenting through it, and what conversations do you find yourself having with kids, your own kids right now?
Yeah, I've been avoiding them.
Good strategy.
So that's brought me peace. No, we just had, I don't know what time it is, but we just 2 hours ago, they played some song. I don't know who. It was a rap song, so I don't know if you know it. But they played it really loud, and we were suddenly, all four of us, dancing. So.
Are you trying to insinuate that I'm not hip to rap? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I was just trying to sound older than I am. But I just realized I have no idea what the song was. I'd never heard it before. But yes, we have, and there's even video evidence that we tore it down. So just trying to make the most. I mean, we're on the front end of a long season of just figuring out what to do. They equate not being in school with social time, and so but two things have been taken away, and so they're adjusting socially like all kids are. Like, I hope they are. I know maybe some parents are like, well, just go ahead and get together, but the social distancing thing is like, we're really trying to take that seriously, and so that's mitigating contact between them and their friends, and so using technology. But we're trying to figure that out. By the way, the social distancing thing, Janet on staff, she didn't say it to me, but I understood that she referred to it. She said she didn't like the phrase social distancing and wish we were saying physical distancing, since there's so many ways to be social. That's really stuck with me, and so I wanted to share that. I've shared it with my kids. We're physically distancing, to be really specific, but socially, we're trying to be even more social. So anyway, but they've asked. My youngest asked last week, is this one of those scenarios where this is the end? And it's not. And that's to be able to say that, no, it's not. This is going to be hard, but this is not anything like that. And then talking about what that means and why we always think that the end is coming based on Hollywood movies and certain theologies. And so great talks, but then just more dancing to the rap.
The rap?
Yeah. How about you guys?
We're on the YouTube.
We are.
So, yeah, I think, in similar ways, we're trying to find a balance of letting our kids sit in the suck for a few days. One, we have a senior in the house, and that's impacted him in a lot of different ways. So we had a national championship in basketball we were supposed to be at this week. We had a national championship in baseball that got canceled about 2 months from now. Things that we've looked forward to for years. And so knowing that the potential of graduations and proms and lots of different things that getting canceled. So just trying to process having a senior especially, but then our youngest also had basketball tournaments, had different things coming up. And so we were just like, man, we've got to let our kids sit in a couple days of just the suck of it without just hitting the gas and just keep going. But trying to find some intentional time too of going, all right, well, here's some things. How do you have space to sit in it? And, I think they're doing normal things where they're online playing with friends or, just talking with friends over Instagram or something like that. But we've tried to cook some dinners together. We've tried to do something like that, like be intentional. Like we made homemade pizzas together the other night. We busted out the old Wii, the original Wii, and started playing like Wii bowling as a family. Like we hadn't done that in, golly, like 7 or 8 years. But there's something about, trying to get in close proximity with some of these people in our life that we've been so going in millions of different directions. That's important. And I think these like oxytocin levels, we've got to figure out how to do that through hanging out with the people that are in the same home with us. And if we're not, if we're by ourselves or disconnected from other people in our own home, how are we texting? How are we making phone calls and encouraging people and doing that kind of stuff? Because I just think, that raises those hormone levels in us that keep us connected. So we've got to find ourselves putting ourselves in proximity with each other. So I don't know, that's what we're doing right now, and just figuring it out and trying to brace of what life's going to be like for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah. I think I've observed a lot of people, you won't see this if it's all Facebook or social media, because sometimes those platforms bring out the worst in us. But I've observed people really being gentle and considerate with each other, and it reoccurred to me this morning after I got back from Wake Up Man Wednesdays from 7 to 8. One of my neighbors was getting in the car, and she's older, and I said, hey, I kept my physical distance, but approached them to make sure that they knew that I was checking on them. I said, hey, how are things? She said, not great. And so my assumption was, well, this is, they're cooped up, we're cooped up, things have just been really hard. But went on to say that pretty sure she's getting a cancer diagnosis this week. And I was immediately aware that I didn't know what to do, because my instinct in that moment would be to go and grab her hand or hug her or something. And I was like, we're, got plexiglass between us is what it felt like. But I was reminded something I think we already knew, but to be extra gracious and gentle with each other, because all of our problems that we had before this didn't step to the side in deference, physical ailment and economic stuff and all that was already present. Didn't say, well, yeah, we'll all go on pause while you guys work out this virus. And so just multiple layers of difficulty that some of us are feeling. I've been observing, it seems like people are trying to really do a good job of being gentle and kind and understanding to each other. And I'm not one of those that would ever say anything like, and that's why God sent this virus. I think that's an awful thought. However, I do think that really could be some silver lining in this, the good that we could do to remember life will be different on the other side of this, but it'll still be really hard and sometimes unimaginably hard for people that we can see their house from our front window. Let's keep the grace, kindness. How can I help? What's the appropriate distance between you and I? We could do that for the rest of our lives. I'm inspired by the possibility of that.
Yeah, and just, not only in the grace and kindness, but just being inquisitive and checking on each other,
Yep. Curiosity is such an easy way to be compassionate.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of us too are going to need to figure out the courage of what it looks like to receive help, though, and to say what we need. Like there's a lot of people right now that are all in this, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm good. But there's going to come a point when everybody's not. And that could just be from a mental state, like, hey, my anxiety isn't doing well, or my depression isn't doing well, or my sense of isolation isn't doing well. And we got to be honest with each other about that, rather than, hey, well, my problem's not as, I don't have the virus, or I don't have someone who's sick in ICU, so my thing's just not that big of a deal. Man, if we want to care for each other and love one another, we have to be vulnerable enough to also say when stuff isn't going well.
Right.
And so when people ask, I think just pausing rather than just saying it's fine and I'm doing okay and good. I mean, just like your neighbor, like, hey, not that great. We've got to be able to be honest with each other about that. And so before you answer instinctively to people when they ask that question, maybe, just take a pause and go, okay, let me think about how I really feel in this moment. And let me answer you after I've taken a pause to really assess how I'm actually doing. Because for so many of us, it's just instinctive to say, I don't want to burden you with my stuff or my fears or my worries, but
yeah. And I'll take that a step further. You may not even need to be in an interaction before you do this work. You can start your day or spend 5 to 10 minutes during lunch or throughout the day and ask yourself, pausing, how am I doing? How am I feeling? And because a lot of us, we don't even know how we're feeling because we go from one thing to the next without asking the question. And so to pause for a second and say, how am I feeling? And to stay in that space and to pay attention to your body. None of us were taught this, it seems like, but a lot of us are learning it now. I just did it the other day, just stopped and said, how am I doing? And that was the first time that day I realized, oh my gosh, my stomach is clenched. And that's a fear response. And so somebody taught me to do this. I put my hands on my stomach like I would if a kid told me they were afraid. And I just thought, yeah, I'm afraid of something. And my whole day swung up. My whole day was better after that because I stopped and listened to the whole of my experience, to my body. And so I think we should do that in interactions, but I would highly suggest you do it by yourself in a car or on your walk or in the shower or wherever. How am I doing? And don't judge it. Just observe it, listen to it, and then that's going to affect the quality of your next interactions or whatever you plan to do.
Yeah, definitely. In the same way, there's things we'll try to do around here sometimes is just taking like blankets and wrapping yourself in them, even when you're by yourself. Even if you don't have like a weighted blanket, there's power in just wrapping yourself up physically in a time when you start to feel very insecure and you start to feel very vulnerable and threatened. And especially when people aren't supposed to be touching or interacting physically, but that closeness of, okay, I need to, put this around me and wrap myself up a little bit so that I can, just communicate even to my body physiologically of a closeness or something that's going on. So I think that's another really good thing to try to put into practice. So before we go on to people that were commenting and saying that you had to refresh your browser in order for comments to appear. So there's people that are commenting, but they had to refresh their browser in order for that to kick on. So if you have been watching and want to comment or ask a question, then just refresh your browser, and then the comments should all be live on there. So So with that, yeah, go ahead and throw out there too. If you have any questions you want to ask us about life or things going on in the world, faith, politics, favorite food.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to talk about,
Steve
we're here for you.
History, yeah, we can unpack it all. But go ahead and throw that out there to see if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, and that we'll try our best to tackle. So our stuff that you'd like to see during this time too. Again, this was us trying to experiment with some new technology that we're working on. And because last Sunday, obviously, we were figuring out, okay, what's it look like to be in the same room? Now we're figuring out how's it look like to broadcast from multiple different places and multiple different rooms. Mm-hmm. And this was an example of that. We've been doing some dry rehearsals behind the scenes. Is dry rehearsal a phrase?
It is now.
Wow. I just might have made that up.
As a man of the cloth, that is now part of the canon.
All right. So anyway, so we're working on that stuff a lot during the day. Oh, great. So why do bees hum, Steve? That would be a question for you.
Well, it's a two-part answer. One, because they don't know the words. Two, this is not the level of discourse we were inviting. No, that's fine. That's fine. Just kidding. It's fine. I've got bees swarming around me here and there as I brave my pollen in my backyard. So, but I think that would be the appropriate answer, is because they don't know the words.
There you go. All right, here's another one. I'm going to put it up on the screen here for everybody. It says, "Hey guys, I was wondering how you strike the balance between being a Christian and being helpful to others, and also protecting ourselves at the same time." It's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak to that first, or do you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I would answer that thoughtfully, in as few words as possible. I'm immediately mindful of the cliche of when a plane's going down, you make sure your own mask is affixed first. Self-care is how we do others' care. So to protect yourself is not antithetical from compassion. Wisdom and compassion work together. So it doesn't do me any good to let someone else or something else deplete me and then make me unavailable to my family and to the service of others. But protecting myself, that's what I got hung up on, that phrasing, and it's fair, but there's so much that can be categorized as I'm protecting myself, and therefore I'm unavailable. I can't take risks, So I think it's one of those things where you sit down with somebody else and say, am I centering exclusively or overly, primarily my own interests to protect myself from discomfort or being misunderstood or harm or death, or am I just being wise? Like most things, striking a balance is typically something that like Solomon said, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. It's something to bounce off of people. Am I being afraid or am I being smart?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that wisdom and compassion dancing together has been a really helpful idea for me always, that those two things aren't opposites. And so the reality is, right now, staying isolated in our homes is being responsible and taking care of ourselves. But, even maybe more importantly, it's also being responsible and caring for humanity and loving our neighbors and our people around us. And so the most loving thing we can do is to isolate ourselves right now. And so, again, those two things dance. Both our compassion on others and our love for others, but being responsible and being wise ourselves. So, I think, every situation is somewhat unique, and that's why community is important. And you wiping off some pollen there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's see. Just someone else. Yeah, talking about. Yeah.
While you're looking up the next question.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing. there is no extra spirituality points or extra makes God happy for people who throw themselves under the tires of other people's use and abuse, or who put themselves in harm's way, all the way up to and including pastors who say the only faithful thing to do in this specific moment that we're all in is to come to church service. Because that's real faith. Anything else is to give in to fear, and then that's a spirit of fear rather than the spirit of God. It's super prevalent right now, and every one of them that's really toxic. To tell people that the faith response is to go ahead and gather, defy expertise and science, and come together in this building. I could go so far as to say that there could be even an ulterior motive in demanding people show up for the service. But then tiered down for those of us that aren't, clergy, a lot of us, we even tell others, I'm gonna take this risk, and if it goes badly, it's gonna hurt you and me, but have faith. Well, have faith in what? It's really like, have faith in my risk tolerance, and then that's not fair. That would be abusive. So I think it's important to say protecting ourselves isn't to think, well, I won't protect myself, and then that means I'm really super spiritual or faithful. It doesn't. It sometimes means you're really, really selfish or inconsiderate.
Yeah, I've heard some people that have articulated online, well, God's commanded us to worship together on Sundays, and so we're going to gather together no matter what because we have faith. And you're just like, yeah, that's a very warped perspective. And from my estimate of using that logic to guilt and manipulate people into showing up to certain places. Now, whether people show up or not and choose to gather, I don't have a judgment on that. It's just the use of manipulation.
They're no more Christian than anybody else.
Right. And so, but I think that's something else that we have to be careful of is, just that people are going to make different decisions right now, and to be respectful of that and not trying to be like, the way I'm doing it, the way I'm practicing isolation, or the way that I'm practicing it is the best way. And so if someone feels like they have to run out to run an errand somewhere,
right,
of just condemning them somehow because they're like, oh, they ran out, or if someone just refuses to step out of their house and feeling like, man, they're way overreacting, or this church is meeting together and this one isn't, and all that stuff, just to kind of reserve judgment on all those different groups and all those different individuals. And just goes back to that idea we were talking about earlier, just being gentle and kind to each other. Like, no one's ever had to navigate this circumstance before, and the way that we're trying to navigate it, that's alive currently. And so we're all trying to figure it out. And so let's have a lot of grace on each other and be really gentle with each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. So someone asked here if there were any Bible studies that are currently available that are relevant to this crazy time that we're in. There's none that I would point to that I know of, like, oh, here's some kind of preset curriculum or idea that you can find in a bookstore or on Amazon or something like that. But I think, kind of like always, immersing ourselves in the words and teachings of Jesus, and Jesus strikes a really good balance of both wisdom and love and compassion and awareness, and trying to help us to pay attention to our own hearts and our own motivations right now. I think that's super important. We might dig it. We're constantly looking for different resources and different things, and as we find those, we'll post those. But I'd actually probably be a little leery of anybody right now that comes out with the pandemic Bible study, or the Corona Bible. I just think a lot of that comes down to marketing and trying to take advantage of a moment. And so I'd rather find some stuff that's more grounded, that speaks to us kind of very generally, that has to do with our own anxiety levels, our own fear, our own sense of being aware of our internal world and how we love and serve people. So that'd be my thought on it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about something similar. most of us here in the West, when we think like who are the theologians or the philosophers that have most inspired us. I mean, you can try it. You can Google top 10 philosophers, and they'll all be Greek or German or European or something like that. That is to say, probably not any Africans or Egyptians or. So that's a whole conversation. But what I'm mindful of as I've been thinking about that is who's already been thinking about this from the Christian leadership in what we would in the West call underdeveloped countries, and they're used to dealing with things going really haywire this way, with sickness, and they don't know how to tackle it scientifically. Whatever, I'm thinking of specific conversations that we've had with our friends over in Kenya, like in the absence of a cure, a vaccine, or something. How do you think about this? How do you study the Bible? What does Paul sound like in that context, and what wisdom comes out that we're missing because we've never had to face that kind of reality, being stuck in the West. So that's not an answer as much as a value that I have been thinking. I bet there's all kinds of, this is how you follow Jesus when the world is falling apart at the hands of something you can't even see, and maybe we're missing out on that. So I'm currently really open to trying to find some of those voices that I didn't know I stepped right over.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is a major topic of discussion for us right now is we're just talking about different things we can do, people, resources, interviews that we can have with people. How do we utilize technology to bring different topics to say, okay, let's obviously there's a sense of wanting to deal with some of the anxiety that we're all struggling with, but there's also just other things that are like, we have some time to dive into some things online and with different people and different ideas that we can explore that you might not normally have an hour to sit down and wrestle with something or to think through it, or to say, man, I'd like to learn more about that, or I'd really like to dive in and learn more about this. Mm-hmm. So if that's something too that you guys have, or things that you're say, oh, here's some of those things, I'd love for you to comment on that or send us an email about that, because we're asking those questions as a leadership a lot to kind of say, what are those things that we can put out there for people and take advantage of some of the extra space that we have right now and some of this new format that we can do to reach out and connect with each other.
I don't know how to turn that off. I've tried. I can mute it, but then I can't hear anything else. So I'll have some time this week to Google that.
All right. So we are, let's see, the comments are running slow at this point. So Steve, is there, okay, well here, I'll just ask you a couple more questions because we'll wrap this up before an hour. But so what music plays in your house most right now? In your home, you got music, you turn it on, what's going to be playing?
We have such different tastes, which I just love. We have instruments all over our house. Me and my wife and all three kids, it's all different. Emma listens to bands that will be famous in 3 years. My eldest, Emma, she's 18. And so just really eclectic stuff you've never heard of, but then it will be, filling arenas 3 or 4 years. She's got a track record for that. So she's way ahead of the curve. My daughter, Anna, she listens to, she's introduced me to so many new bands. And so that's my relationship with her. She tells me, this is what's hot. Christy loves the old, like she just the 90s hip hop and stuff. She knows the words to all that. It's actually kind of funny. She can throw down lyrically. My son was born in the wrong generation. He's way into funk and disco, and I think he was just jamming earlier I Will Survive, and when it was over he was like, oh, it's so good, and then played it again. That's his genre. And then I listen to stuff that's it's weird. I listen to a lot of stuff that you can't even. It's not even in English. I don't know what they're saying. Icelandic stuff, and then I like Primus, and yeah, I'm a weirdo. So nothing really that I would recommend.
Okay. Yeah, I think just Chelsea, one of our staff members, popped up and said, she's got lots of toddler music in their home right now. So Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes, and Itsy Bitsy Spider. So I am grateful that we're past that stage in the house.
Bing.
Yes, because that would get tiring after a while.
It did.
Yes.
It did.
But the Backyardigans, they had good music back in the day.
Fantastic music. Yeah, and there's another children's show that had really, really great. I can't think of it, but Backyardigans. I was like cranking it. Can't believe how good it is. Highly recommend, regardless of whether you're a parent or what stage of parenting you are. Backyardigans. It's the jam.
It was the jam. I agree. I don't know if they're still making new ones. I don't think they are, but.
Speaking of the jam, behind you is featured the Dunk.
Oh, and
I'm looking at that poster and having this vague memory. Did they little higher? Yes. Oh, look at that halo. I have this vague memory that poster was available in a Wheaties box for a while.
Probably.
Or some version of. Like, I remember opening it and being super excited that it was in there as a kid. Anyway. Yeah. No one's asking that, but.
No. Oh, but Andrea just did mention Little Einsteins, which also had some good music. Not as good as Backyardigans, but it was still it was all right.
I don't recall.
Yeah, it'd be top 5, Andrea, but not to the Backyardigans level.
Okay.
So, all right. Anything else you want to chat about in our afternoon chat time?
Yeah, well, I look forward to having some of the kinks worked out a little better up front next time we chat. But yeah, I'd like to follow people's lead. I'm I think we all have a lot of time to think on our hands right now, and I've got some. I know we've talked about some of the ideas of just putting some other resources out there that we haven't put out there before, and doing this. And so, but I just want to double down on what Jonathan said. If there's something you want to talk about, I don't know very much, but if I have something to say about it, I've made it clear I'm willing to talk. And I'm excited about this Sunday. Gonna try a couple things that I think will be great, and so looking forward to that. So, but yeah, ways that we can continue to serve and have the courage to ask to be served and to stay connected this way while we get through this thing together. Speak up. The church doesn't belong to the staff. So, I hope that if you're following along right now and that you consider yourself as a participant at Crosspoint, that you recognize that you are Crosspoint, and that's not rhetoric. We're in this together. So we'd love to follow your lead.
Yeah. I would add to that that we aren't trying to offer a bunch of here's a how-to steps things. Here's 3 things that you need to do to solve all your problems. But I do think it's important that we gather together and we say, we're all in this together, and we're just figuring it out. And there's something about why we wanted to jump on today, knowing that we're still figuring out technology and all these kinds of things, is because we just think that's important, that we can see each other, communicate with each other, stay connected that way. And our plan is, someone did ask if we were going to do more of these, and so I would anticipate we'll do many more. They might not just be you and I talking, but we'll have other guests and bring some other topics or teach through certain things and have certain themes. And I could envision us at a certain point having a schedule of that kind of stuff out there for people, where we'd say, hey, this week at Tuesday at 4:00, we're going to talk about this. And at Thursday at 12 noon, we're going to tackle this. So we can just let you guys plan ahead for that. Right now, it's just kind of this spontaneous thing that we're trying to figure out. But I'll piggyback on what Steve said, too. I'm excited about Sunday. I think we figured out how to upgrade some things for our Sunday conversation, our Sunday gathering experience. And so I really hope that you'll be able to participate in that. And then, again, I hope that those of you that are connected to Crosspoint, that, man, there's just a lot of really good that's all going on all around us every day. All of our different leaders and people, that the ways that they're loving people in our city right now, the ways that helping people with rent and helping people with utilities, helping people with medical bills, helping people with food. Man, there's a ton going on. So I look forward to sharing more of those stories with you. But thanks for being a part of our community and knowing that even if you're in a house right now or an apartment and you feel isolated, that us getting together and still doing what we do together makes a big difference, and it's making a lot of difference in people's lives. So really grateful for you guys, and love you, and we'll look forward to talking more soon. All right.
Hey, and if you guys can, leave in the comments what are your favorite times of day to do something like this. That gives us a little bit of shape for when we'll plan these. Not just convenient for us, but we want to maximize when it's convenient for you. So leave a comment. Just noon, 3, 7, whenever. Just let us know, and we'll factor that in for the next couple of talks.
All right. See you guys.